Welcome everybody to the second episode of our Azure Transformation series. I'm delighted to have Harun Leidos again with us, one of our key consultants. Actually, we forgot to do this last time, Harun. We forgot to mention, Harun, tell us about your experience.
So I've been working in the software for more than 10 years now, professionally, and at least 7 of them is in finance, which contains application developments, maintenance, and from even the database side to the end of the front end. So I've been involved in all of the areas, and I've been with James Saffron for the last 1.5 years. It's been 1.5 years.
That's great. Actually, he's one of our subject matter experts in Azure, and we've worked with a number of clients with yourself because of your expertise. It's been great having you on board, actually. So this series, this is your brainchild. You came up with this series on the Azure transformation, and we were with you on episode 1. How is episode 2? I mean, I know that we're going to be talking more about the application lifecycle. Could you give us an overview of what that would contain?
So nowadays every company is thinking about going from on-premise to cloud, right? So what I wanted to talk about is that there is a gap between the on-premise and going to the cloud in all areas, including the development, deployments, security, or when it comes to culture or support and everything. So in this episode, I specifically wanted to talk about that how is an application lifecycle from development to deployment works, at least worked on-premise, and what were the challenges that we had, and now how it looks like, and what are the plans for the future.
Actually, on that, just to give people an overview of the current client that you're working with is one of the largest asset managers in the UK.
Yep.
With one, and is a child of a parent company that's the largest, or one of the largest insurance companies in the UK. So you've been working on that transformation with a bunch of very good guys at this company, but it's something that it's hands-on. You're talking fresh from experience of something that you've recently done.
Yeah. So at the time that we were involved, it was kind of like a data transformation rather than the entire cloud transformation. But that the time that we started, there was nothing on the cloud.
So what was it like?
So it was like, I mean, we had sticks and stones that we wanted to build something, but then we were looking for a parking space for our car, which we didn't have. We didn't know. We didn't even know how to drive. We didn't know where to put that off the locket, and etc. So what we have started is that the whole reason this started is that the company is going through transformation on the investment side. So they're changing their investment application and the technology specs, technology landscape over there. So we had to adapt that. We wanted to integrate our existing applications over there with the new application over there, but that came with the cost with incompatibilities. Like that is a cloud-based application, we have on-premise. When you do both ways, it started to fail. But then we thought that, okay, if we are going to do this, we should do this on cloud, on Azure, which has all the tool sets that we need, and that's how it all started over there.
Actually, brilliant. Can I ask you a quick question that's off script? Sorry. Why do you think the decision was made to go to Azure as opposed to AWS? Because we've got both Azure experts and AWS experts, but for this particular case, it was chosen to go Azure.
So the company, at least the group itself, actually has AWS subscription as well. So they already have AWS platform as well as the Azure platform. The whole reason we went for the Azure is that even though existing application landscape is based on Java or Oracle, kind of like that application specs, Azure provides not just .NET and Microsoft-based capabilities, but as well as them. So we wanted to have them on board as well as new applications, but we also wanted to do a data transformation. We wanted to have the integration so fast because of the legal enforcement as well. So we had to implement this transition fast, quite fast actually. So we have to integrate our existing applications with the new trading investment application, as well as just create insights to some
existing apps as well.
Yeah, with existing apps as well. So the reason that we chose Azure is that because the transition would allow us to be fast, because most of the things are available as platform or as a service over there. And for example, to process the data, we specifically chose Azure Data Lake because that would allow us to put all the existing data and the new incoming data into one place and process it with the toolset over there. For example, if we wanted to process the data we have with the big data tools, we had Azure Data Lake Analytics, or we have HD Insight, or we have Azure Databricks at the moment. So with these three tools, we can actually add the machine learning as well and gain some insight over there.
Machine learning as well. That's superb.
Yep.
Yes.
Not just for the existing integration, for the future as well. So this is kind of like an investment for the future. That's why we chose Azure as well as the Microsoft platforms, because AWS supports lots of this functionality as well. For example, we want to go for the serverless model as well. That will decrease our infrastructure costs. We didn't have to maintain anything, and that would be quite scalable. So we're using Azure Functions for that, and Logic Apps quite extensively, actually.
Okay, that's tremendous. So you've mentioned some of the key challenges as you're answering my question. Are there any other key challenges? You mentioned that being able to work with and migrate to the new approach that was off-prem in the cloud with Azure, while sustaining the on-premise applications and that transition. What other challenges can you?
So the first one is the culture. So that everything was on-premise. Everything was based on Active Directory domain, and there was a whole process was set up. So we had the VMs. If you wanted to create a new application, we would ask for the new environment on VMs, which would take 3 months to provision. Then there would be updates, there would be issues, so that would be go back and forth. But the company wanted to do something really close to DevOps. So as developers, through the cloud tools, we are capable of maintaining our own infrastructure, because we best know what are our requirements over there. Do we need encryption over this? Yes, we do. Then what are the tools that we have? Rather than going to the storage guys, ask for the encryption, then going to the VM guys, ask for the encryption over there, going to the network guys, and etc. So we can actually handle all the architecture over there quite easily.
So it became a DevOps approach
Exactly.
to VM environment provisioning.
Exactly.
And
But
now the guys are doing that by themselves almost
Yep.
immediately.
yeah, I myself maintaining the infrastructure that we have on our applications, and I know, because I know the best that what my application needs is like planting a flower, right? So you know what your plant like flower is, and you know what is the soil is best for it, what type of pot that do you need, what type of drainage you need, and etc. So and now we are configuring that. Of course, we cannot do everything. There are like processes and etc., which were most of the challenges were. So that there is kind of like an approach on the on-premise world, which of course as a first reaction, everyone wanted to apply the same thing on cloud, which didn't work, because not everything works on domain, not everything works the same, not everything works in a standard way. So that was the first challenge. Then everyone said, okay, this is not working, we have to do it from scratch. So there was, for example, a cloud services team was formed, which was highly trained Azure guys responding all the needs that we have, responding all the questions that we have. And if there is any permissioning, because of the permissioning, that we cannot do something, like issuing a certificate, they would just do it in an instance and help us. So it's kind of like a hybrid DevOps operation going on.
Yes.
And another challenge that we were doing is that in the existing world, yes, they had the continuous integration, and at some point they had the continuous deployment, but not the continuous delivery, not end to end. And especially because they were using tools specifically designed and, to be honest, a bit dated on-premise for Java applications. The new and fast applications that you want to do, like if you wanted to do like .NET Core, if you wanted to do, I don't know, Node.js applications, like if you wanted to go for
a full stack.
A full stack with like, if you wanted to widen your application landscape, technology landscape, it didn't allow you to do it. So what now we are doing is that we are keeping everything on cloud. Our code is on cloud, our deployment process is on cloud, and if you wanted to do something on-premise, that allows us as well. So for that we are using Visual Studio Online, which is seamless integration with Azure, which is seamless integration with Visual Studio itself, and everything we do, we can actually quite design visually over there rather than going configuration files and etc. So, for example, as a developer, here is how I do an application on cloud. And
actually, yeah, let's talk about that.
Yep.
That whole life cycle from beginning to end, from development to continuous integration to continuous delivery. How would that work for a developer?
So, like every application, we start with the business requirement gathering, then we have the design meetings and etc. Then we decide, okay, this is the best way to approach this. Then we look at Azure capabilities. What do we have? If do we want to use containerization? Do we want to use app services? Do we want to use Azure functions over here? Where should we keep our databases and etc. Then we decide that. Then the first thing that we do is just set up the environment templates. ARM templates, we put them under source control, we set up the CI/CD cycle, then we create the target structure. Then we go back, we create our application within the source code, within that same source control, then go to CI/CD cycles, build our applications, test it, create an artifact, version it, then in the release cycle, we specify that put it into dev, put it into test, pre-prod, prod, which all has approvals, permissions, that everything is under control, everything is quality checked. And we now have even applications that has automated UI testing. We have applications that has acceptance tests, integration tests, platform tests, component tests. Based on our applications requirements, we are just choosing what is our best approach, adopt it, and quite easily deploy that onto cloud.
That is tremendous. Sounds amazing. Yep. And you're saying you've got there right now? This is where you're at?
Yep.
What are the benefits? I mean, how does it compare to what used to be to what it is now? What's the speed improvements for development, and what does that allow you to do better?
So let's say that if you wanted to start an application on-prem, you just first think about that. Okay, what is the load this application is going to get? What is the computing power that you need? Then you ask for the infrastructure guys to provision a VM for you, or just give you an existing one, a space that you can deploy your application. But what happens if you decide, okay, there is actually a bigger computation need that you have? Then you have to ask for a new one, which is another month or so.
Or maybe even get a dedicated blade server or something.
Etc. Yeah, and which actually increases costs a lot if you think about it. What we have done over here is that if I decide an application is, so the application specific specs is not enough, I just upgrade it to a different spec, then do it, then come back. Actually, I can do most of this stuff automated as well. So application itself can scale itself out
and shrink back. So
based
huge
on
cost
the needs.
savings.
Yeah.
And you get that environment that you need almost immediately.
Exactly. In a previous client, like a few years ago, we have done this on-prem as well, which was so painful. We could have only done in kind of like a proof of concept, because in the production environment, that requires that gets tons of challenges, tons of compliance issues and everything. But on cloud, you don't even think about that. How many VMs this application is using, and etc. You just need, what are my requirements? There it is. If the load increases, just scale it out. That's what we do.
Okay, that's tremendous. So apart from cost savings and speed of provisioning a virtual machine, you talked about automating tests and UI tests and integration tests. And what difference has that made to the development process? And
apart from speeding it up, it's actually now driving the process. So before even starting the development, we are just thinking about, okay, how can we test this?
Brilliant.
What
So
are our acceptance criteria? So that what is our quality? So if we develop this application, how can we make sure this application is in such a state, such a good quality state, that will not cause issues in the future, not just for business, but for us as well.
Tremendous.
Yeah. And for example, with the testing, of course, unit testing is not kind of like a nice to have, is not an achievement anymore. It is how you start the active development. Then you have, for example, in our applications, we kind of do the acceptance tests. Depending on the application, we do the integration tests. Not all the time, because we are trying to do like picking it. We are just not trying to be obsessed with the process as well. So we are just doing whatever that we need, we just do that. And in the future, if our needs increase, if there are like additional requirements, then we build on top of it. So we are not doing the agile process with the application itself, but for us as well, in our testing process, in our culture, in our company-wide culture as well.
I love that, Harun, because there's no cookie-cutter approach to agile and process. It all depends on the current accepted culture within the company and what is right to do and what is the perceived good of the company and the team and the product owner that you may have.
And because we are doing this, now we are able to do what every company is dreaming of. So we have applications that artifacts we can actually deploy in an instance, just give it to business, roll back, or give another environment quite easily. So we can actually not just scale out and in, we can actually design our process quite easily as well. And we have always tested quality assured product that we can always go to production with it. That's what we are achieving, like aiming. What we are trying to do, every day our application is at such a state that we can deploy it into production. If the business wants that, okay, these features are enough, take us to production with this.
Which is continuous delivery. On demand, moving to production, not on automated. I think we need to let people keep them hungry for the next few episodes.
Yep.
And suffice it to say, guys, these videos, please add your comments, what you want to hear Harun answer from his experience, his tremendous experience, and then we'll try and include episodes that specifically target the questions that you have. Harun, thank you very much for today's second episode
My pleasure.
on Azure transformation, and I look forward to the next one. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.